Hello crafty friends, my name's Alicia, but you can call me Crafty Al. And in today's video, I'm going to be putting together my first set of cards using the September 2025 sheet load. I hope you'll stick around to see how they were made and get a few tips along the way. Welcome, or perhaps welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here today. Yesterday I debuted the brand new SheetLoad of Cards free printable for September of 2025. This is a special edition where the sketch was inspired by Carmen of the Choose Joy with Carmen YouTube channel, who is one of my valued creative team members. You can check out her original video, which featured a square card with this layout, by clicking on the link in that description box below. If you haven't yet downloaded the free printable, make sure to check out yesterday's debut video, which is also down in that description box. Make sure once you're done watching my video today that you hop around to see what the creative team has made this month. I will have a playlist link toward the top of the description box below, and it will also be as an end card at the end of this video. I know that everybody would love for you to stop by, see what they created, and leave them some love. As I get into today's process video, I will tell you about the products and tools that I'm using, but as always, if I ever leave you with any questions, feel free to leave those in that comment section below, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Let's get crafty! I'm going to get started by showing you how to cut your two pattern papers, and we're going to start with the columns. For my papers today, I chose two pieces from a Recollections paper pad from Michaels. The first one with the ghost has some fun orange foiling. And for this, if your pattern paper does have a direction, make sure to keep that in mind before you make the first cut. Then what you're going to do is cut it into 3 columns, 2 that are 4 inches wide, and then a final one that is 2 3/4 inches wide. Now this does leave you with some pattern paper left over, and later I'll show you how I use that. Now you'll bring back in the first 2 columns, the 4-inch wide pieces, and cut each of them down to 5 1/4 inch tall sections. Again, there will be some scrap at the bottom. Now keep in mind you do not need to remember any of these dimensions that I'm giving you right now. You will have that printable to have next to you as you make your cards. Now with that final column, you'll cut that down into 4 pieces that are 2 3/4 inches tall, and this will end up being pattern paper piece B. While I work on cutting that second piece of pattern paper in the same exact way, I did want to stop by with a special channel member shout out. In the month of August, I had some members earn their 1-year membership badge, so I wanted to take a minute to say congratulations and thank you. Their names are scrolling up on screen now. Thank you all so very much for your continued support. If you're not yet a channel member and you would like to find out more about the perks of being one, you can click on the Subscribe Plus button below this video or check out the link in the description box below. Membership starts as low as $1.99 a month, and with that you get access to probably the most favorite perk, and that is the visual archive. It is a one-stop shop with thumbnails and direct links to all SheetLoad of Cards editions, and right now that is almost 75. The next thing we'll cut is CS1, and you need 1.5 sheets, and each of those will be cut into 16 pieces as noted on the printable. Now this would also be a great one for scraps if you have that as well. I'm going to get started by cutting my 1.5 sheets of black cardstock into 3-inch wide columns. I get 1 from the half sheet and 3 from the full sheet. Then you're going to take each of those pieces and cut them into two 3-inch tall sections and then two 1/2-inch tall sections. It is easiest to cut the 1/2-inch pieces at the beginning, and you'll see here on the printable that this is for your sentiment. Now you can adjust this, make it larger or smaller to fit your needs. I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to cut those on that first piece because I will be using something slightly different for my sentiments. Then you're going to need some card bases. The printable calls for 4 pieces of cardstock cut in half and folded in half. And while it does suggest top folding cards, you could definitely do a book or a side fold as well. For my card bases, I'm using the same black cardstock that I just used for the square mats, and I cut this in half to 4 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches tall. Now you could definitely fold these in half by hand, but I do like to get out my score buddy and add a scoring line. This just helps it so that when you go and reinforce that fold, it makes it nice and crisp and it doesn't crack. Now that all of the pieces are cut, we can start to do some assembly. The first thing we're going to do are the 2 triangles on the front. And per those special instructions, this is actually the matted pattern paper square cut in half. You can definitely go ahead and just freehand matting those pieces or adhering them together, but I am going to use a helper, and that is the Pear Blossom Press A7 ruler, which has a 1/8 inch jig. I will be holding that down with a couple really strong magnets to my magnetic glass board from Glassboard Studios. I will have all of these items linked down in that description box below, and if you do place an order at Glassboard Studio, make sure to use my special discount code. To mat these together, I'm going to add adhesive to the back of the pattern paper square, pattern paper piece B, and then I'm going to put that cardstock mat right up in that jig. Now when I lay my piece of pattern paper next to where that is, or right up against the side of the ruler, it is going to give me a nice 1/8 inch border all the way around. Now this step is definitely not necessary, but it was a great help as I put the rest of my pairs together. Once you have all of those matted together, you're then going to cut them in half at a diagonal. Now you do want to pay attention, again, if your pattern paper has a direction, and since the text one does, I'm going to show you how to cut that. You'll want to put it in front of you so it is the correct way, so it reads correctly, and then you're just going to tilt it half a turn counterclockwise. Now what you're going to do is, following the guide or wherever your blade cuts on your trimmer, you want to line up the top and bottom corners with that line. So you'll see here how I did that on mine. You kind of get one side in place and then move the next side and just adjust it, and then you can quickly slice that in half, and now you have those 2 triangles. You'll make that same cut on all of your squares, and so it's easy to keep those pieces together or those pairs together. You do see here how I stacked them, the opposite patterns on top of each other. To put these triangles onto the front of the card, you are going to kind of flip them. The right half will now be on the left of your pattern paper piece A, and the left half will be over on the right. I did use liquid glue for this step just so I can get right up in those tiny corners, and what you're going to do is put your first piece over on the left, and you'll want to make sure that the top 2 corners are all nice and lined up. And then for the second piece, you're going to put it at the bottom right, and then make sure those bottom corners are lined up so it looks something like this. Make sure that whatever pattern paper is in the background, that you're using the second option for those triangles on top. Now, while again you can do these just by hand like I am with no helpers, I did bring in a helper for the rest of mine, and that is going to be the score buddy, which you've already seen. Since this has that nice corner down there on the left, I'm going to use that as a guide or a helper. Now, if you don't have a score buddy, you can use a Misty or some other tool that just has a corner and a ledge. Now what you'll do is put your pattern paper down there in that corner, Add liquid glue to the first triangle, and then you can just kind of slide that right into that same corner, and it's all nice and aligned. Once the first triangle is in place, all you have to do is rotate pattern paper piece A and add the second triangle in that opposite corner at the bottom. Easy peasy. Let me know if you're going to use a helper down in that comment section below. I finished adhering all of the pattern paper pieces together, and while I work on that, I wanted to ask you, are you a paper trimmer level channel member who would love to receive a Halloween card from me? It is almost time for Member Happy Mail, and since I've made a few Halloween cards in the last couple weeks, I know not everybody celebrates or would appreciate a Halloween card, but I know that a lot of you would. So on the membership tab tomorrow, you're going to want to look for a graphic like the one up on screen now. There will be a link to a Google form that if you are interested in getting a Halloween card from me, you can fill it out. Now, if more people fill it out than I have Halloween cards, I will do just like a random drawing of who I send these to. This month's sketch does have some leftover pattern paper, and you see here how I cut and punched my scraps down to help me decorate the inside of the cards. Because I am using a black card base and you wouldn't be able to see a personal message, I cut some white cardstock scraps to 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. To decorate the white pieces, I'm going to add one of the pattern paper strips flush at the bottom and then one of the flags in the upper right. Now the strips were that 4 inches wide of the original columns that I cut earlier, so once both of those were in place, I just quickly cut off what was hanging over. Now I can add this piece centered to the inside of my card base, and I have some extra decoration and a place where my message will be easy to read. Now it's time to get the pattern paper pieces added to the front. For this, I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back and then center it. This does leave you a nice 1/8 inch border, and it can definitely be done by hand just like I showed you, but once again I did go ahead and bring in my ruler and my Glassboard Studio magnetic glass craft mat. Now this time, since there is the card base with the cardstock inside, it is a little tight to get underneath that lip or into the jig, but if you wiggle it in there, this is going to be nice and tight, so when you go to add your pattern paper piece, once again you have that nice even border all the way around. I finished adding all of the pattern paper pieces to the card fronts using my special helper tools. The last thing our cards need is a focal point. Now the sketch does suggest a sentiment and maybe a piece of ephemera or die cut, but again, you can always switch this up. I'll be making my own ephemera using the Day 4 dies from the CraftOWeen Halloween Advent Calendar, which is a cute little ghost. I cut its body from white cardstock, a little piece to go behind it out of vellum to have a little bit of a see-through element, and then finally to go behind the eyeballs, I punched out a partial circle out of a dark gray. I did put together most of these off camera, but I did want to show you how one was assembled. For my sentiments, I'm going to use the Halloween Icons Better Press set from Spellbinders. It has a plate with lots of Halloween themed sentiments and a coordinating die to cut it out. I will be using some sweet potato pie cardstock from Tailored Expressions, and on the press plate I will be using Oreo ink from Tailored Expressions. I added the sentiment plate to the Better Press base plate, which is magnetic, and to make sure my cardstock stays where I need it, I added some adhesive to the back and then picked it up with the clear plate of the Better Press contraption. Sorry, I don't know what this is called. Once that was in place, I inked up that press plate very well, making sure that I could read all of the sentiments, and then I ran it through my big kick. And you guys, look at how nice and crisp those sentiments are. Off camera, I pressed another set of those sentiments. I do have more than I need, but some of them won't really apply to the cards that I want to send out. Also, while I was off camera, I added some foam tape to the back of each of my ghosts so the card will have a little bit of dimension. I figured out where I wanted my ghost and my sentiment to go, and once I had those in place, I added the sentiment with some liquid glue and then pulled the release paper from the foam tape on the ghost. Now you can definitely move your focal point around on here. I did leave it pretty much like the sketch shows. I went to put the second card together, and this one has the pattern paper in opposite places, and when I went to place that down, I realized that having a sentiment on orange cardstock on text background paper wasn't really going to work. So to help this stand out, I cut another set of the sentiment die set off camera out of white cardstock. Now what I'm going to do is give that original one a little bit of a shadow or a little bit of an offset, and while it's not the best option, it does help it stand out. With hindsight being 2020, I should have probably done one set of sentiments on the orange as I did originally, and then the second one on the white cardstock. But I think either way, these are cute, and I hope the recipients love them. I finished adding all of those focal points, and normally I like to say a card isn't finished until it has a little bling, but because that ghost pattern paper does have some foiling, I think that's enough sparkle for these cards. And here are some close-up looks at the finished set. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I put together my first set of cards using the September 2025 sheet load. If you did, as always, a thumbs up is appreciated. Now don't forget to visit the creative team videos to see what they've made this month. You can use that link in the description box below or the end card here in just a few seconds. Until my next video, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch all the way to the end of the video. I hope now you'll consider clicking on one of the videos or playlists I have linked above. And if you are interested in any of the products or tools I used in today's video, I do have some links in the description box below.